Last night was the season finale of Power Book 2 Ghost. I've been watching all season. I haven't been reviewing just because there's so much going on in each episode that it's just hard to grasp it, to capture all of it, and to effectively review it. But I decided to do a review because the season is now over. And again, I still feel like there's a lot of details that I don't even know if I have the capacity to go over because they were so small. So I'm just going to stay high level on the major plot lines and give you an overview of what I thought. So like everybody else, I can't stand Tariq. And that's the reason I wasn't even going to watch this series, because he was just such a horrible character in Power. But I watched it only because somebody told me that there were other storylines and there were other good characters in there, which is true. Like the Tejada family really made the show for me. So I pushed through and I watched, but all I did was hate Tariq more. I mean, this kid just wherever he goes, death follows him. And I don't know what the body count is at this point. I mean, we know he's committed 2 direct murders. He killed his father, and he killed Professor Jabari Reynolds. Maybe there's a third person I'm not even remembering right now. But all the other people who died as a result of his nonsense, even going back to the original series. The finale had 2 pivotal deaths that are all Tariq's fault. And these were truly innocent people. The first is Lauren, and this is the one I think he feels it because he genuinely liked her, and he knows he can trace her death back to his decisions, and he's got to live with that. And I don't know what kind of conscience he has, because he seems pretty cold. And this was the first time I think I saw him seem upset about his behavior, except for when his sister died. That scene where he had a nightmare and all the people who died because of him were all in the classroom. And that was a moment I hadn't seen before with Tariq. But even then, his behavior afterwards still seemed like somebody who moves without guilt. So Lauren's dead because of him. Zeke is dead because of him. All of this, and all of this stems from you killing your father. Had he not killed Ghost, Tasha never would have had to take the fall. He never would have had to hire an attorney to get her out. In order to hire the attorney, he never would have had to hustle and do all that stuff with course correction. Braden involved in it, Effie's involved, then his linking up with the Tejadas. Now, granted, they were already in the drug game, but him getting himself all enmeshed with them and the daughter, and I mean, he's a killer. Like, without pulling the trigger, he's a killer. And that's the first thing about Tariq I hate. One of the first things. Another thing I'll bring up, and this is the writers, it's not the character. They make Tariq sound like this street smart, savvy mastermind. And I'm like, why? How? He grew up pre-privileged. He went to, now don't get me wrong, I believe he's smart. He's probably above average intelligence. But the street smarts, where would he have got them from? Just from watching his father and Tommy, especially when his father was trying to keep him out of the life. Towards the end, Tasha started to teach him things and bring him in, and he got himself enmeshed in it. But up until that point, they were making real concerted efforts to keep him out of it and keep his life normal. So where did he get all of this street knowledge and all of this mastermind, manufacturing all of these intricate plots? And case in point, the best example is when they decided to rob Mecca of his product. That was Tariq's mastermind, pulling all these people in to distract Mecca, to get into the house, to turn off the power, all these things. And it was successful, and it's another thing that's really convenient for Tariq is every time something goes down, he's somewhere else. He got roped up in the death of Jabari Reynolds, and, he had to go on trial and everything, and he had the little bracelet, the ankle bracelet. But other than that, this dude is walking away unscathed while people are out doing his bidding, and just kind of executing on his plans. This dude is sitting in his dorm room chilling. Yeah, I hate that. And I know that those are the writers and it's not him, but I have to suspend a lot of belief to think that this 18, 19-year-old kid who grew up privileged gathered enough street knowledge and know-how to be this savvy, right? So I just kind of can't believe that, and that's what makes me watch the show with a little bit of hesitation and skepticism, because it just doesn't seem realistic. Now, Kane and Drew, Diane to some extent, and maybe even Effie. I mean, I don't know her whole backstory, but if they give the impression she grew up in the streets, I could understand them having a little more of that savvy, because their parents didn't hide any of it from them. They were like, sitting at the table listening to all these conversations, so they know what the game really looks like. But anywho, is what it is. So that's why I was hesitant to watch it, but I did. I got roped into all the storylines, with the professors and Rashad Tate, the Tejadas and their drug game, and Monet, and then the whole thing we learned about Monet actually being Zeke's mom. That's another plot hole for me. I need an explanation to know why she kept it from everybody. So okay, I get it. You got pregnant young. Like a lot of certain, a lot of cultures, they'll send somebody down south or away to have a kid and then come back and pretend like nothing happened. So that does happen. Okay, they lied and said it was her sisters, and she raised him as a nephew. But why was Lorenzo so upset? This was before him. So, now we learned that Zeke is her oldest kid. So she had a baby before she met you. And if she told you that, she didn't cheat on you, like what was the anger for? I get that you kept us alive from somebody, but he had a visceral reaction as if she cheated on him, or as if he just found out that one of his kids wasn't his. I want to know more of the story about that, just how all that played out, and what did she tell Lorenzo, or what did he believe about her that would make him so upset about this whole story? I was happy to see that Yasmin was reunited with Tasha. It was good to see Tasha again. She's holed up in some place, looks like in the Midwest or something, in witness protection program. She got to be with her daughter again. That was a cute moment. I'm glad that Tariq finally had a moment of maturity and realized that, if Yasmin was to stay with him, she would always be in danger because of the life that he lives. What else? Oh, that was a nice revelation with Method Man. They touched on it in the beginning of the season, in which we realized that his brother is in jail, and now we know that his brother is in jail doing a bid for something that Method Man did. Because when Method Man spoke to Sax and he asked him to check up on that case, Sax was saying, well, this guy who's Method Man's brother, who I'm sure he doesn't know that, is innocent because the person who committed the crime is like 4 inches taller than him or something. Later on, when Meth was in jail talking to his brother, and he said something about little brother, and he's like, well, I'm taller than you. So that was just a connection between the two, telling us all that Meth committed some kind of crime. His brother took the fall for it, perhaps because his brother already has a record, or because his brother seems to be sick and dying. So that's interesting. Obviously, we'll see how that plays out in the next season. I have to say, Method Man did his thing. The acting was superb. Again, a lot of it looked like it was his personality. So some people would say, well, really was it a lot? Was it difficult to act if you're playing somebody who, is from the streets and, is kind of savvy in that extent? But I still think, the transition from rapper to actor, you have to give people credit. There's very few of them have done it really well. And I think I see a big future for him doing other movies and more serious roles. So that was really good. So let me talk a little bit about the whole situation, everything that happened at the end, where Monet was setting up to kill Dante, right? So we all know, or we all suspected last week, that Dante is the one who snitched about his age. We also had an inkling that he was the one who set up the shooting in the park. All of this to make Monet believe that Lorenzo has it out for her and that she and Zeke need to leave with him. That's why he did that thing with Zeke with the NCAA, because now he had no reason to stay. So this was his way of getting them all out of town with him. Monet, I wasn't really sure where she stood, because it seemed like she really wasn't in love with Lorenzo anymore. When he came back home, she wasn't happy. But then again, I never really got the sense that she was really into Dante. Like that in her head, the relationship was over and she had her closure. But I think at some point she might have considered it just to get out of the life because that's what she was trying to do. But when she realized that he was playing her, getting close to Cain and doing all the things he was doing, to try to dupe her, that's when she had a turn. And then when she learned later that he was a snitch, I think that was the nail in the coffin where she's like, you know what, I got to get rid of him. And so I guess by default, she's going back to Lorenzo, or she just wants her family, So even if her and Lorenzo have some issues, I guess she's figuring the bigger picture is that, we are a family and she can work all that stuff out. But, so they did this thing with the bag because, Tariq had Dante's bag, and then Dante confronted him because Tariq had all this information about Dante being a snitch. And so Tariq told him, give me $2 million, I'll give you the bag. And so this episode was all about him meeting up with him to give him the bag. Tariq obviously knew that once he gave the bag to Dante, Dante was going to kill him. So he had a plan, in conjunction with what Monet was doing in order to kill him. He involved all these other people. So Diane was involved and Drew was involved in all this thing where they would carry the bag and assume that Mecca's people would follow him and get confused about where the real bag was. So this is where Diane messed up. She gets involved in this. Drew tells her, do not open the bag. And that was Tariq's idea originally, because he said, if she never looks in the bag, she can have plausible deniability, right? And then Drew sends the message and says, don't look in the bag. She says she won't. Of course she looked in the bag. We know she's nosy, right? Because she was the one who already went into Monet's stuff to figure out the whole story about the origin of Zeke's birth, right? And she's the one who blew everybody up at the table. So we already know that Diana is nosy. But this is where she pulled a Tariq move. Because I'm going to put it out there. She's responsible. She's somewhat responsible for Zeke's death, because had she not looked in the bag like she was told, she wouldn't have been able to tell her father later what was in the bag. And what was in the bag was all paperwork and documents, passports, and all this other kind of stuff that Dante had put together for the entire family, for Monet and her kids, to get out of town. He was setting it up so that he could take all of them and they could bounce. When Lorenzo heard this, he was incensed because at first he wanted to kill Dante. Lorenzo had originally told Monet that he wanted to kill him. And Monet said, no, I need to do it because you won't be able to get close to him. Smart move, right? However, when Diane told Lorenzo all the stuff that she found in the bag, he got incensed because essentially Dante was trying to take his whole family away. Monet is one thing, but you trying to take my kids, you trying to take my family. And that made him so pissed that he went to the hangar to go and take out Dante himself. Gets to the hangar, he sees what turns out to be Zeke getting out of the sports car that Mecca had bought him. And he sees him going to the jet or to the plane to get out of town. And he shoots him, killing Zeke. Now, this is obviously going to set up a horrible thing for next season because, Zeke is Monet's heart. But he wouldn't have done that if he hadn't had that conversation with Diana. She's the one who put the battery in his back, telling him something that incensed him so much that he felt the need to go kill this man himself. That wasn't part of the plan. He and Monet had agreed that she was going to do it. So now Zeke is dead. And then, here's another plot hole, though. How is it that Lorenzo confused Zeke for Mecca? Like, you don't know your nephew? Like, I'm assuming Zeke is like 6'4", 6'5". You know who this man is. You know how he walks. You know his effect. Like, so you mean to tell me that even from a distance, you didn't know that it was possibly your nephew, or possibly that wasn't Mecca? Like, I just don't understand how he didn't know that. And so, he kills Zeke. It's terrible because poor Zeke. Zeke is really the victim in this story. This young man, now dumb as he want to be, but he just didn't deserve any of this, And the only reason he decided to go is once he realized that, Carrie is gone and now he has no college career, pro basketball's off the table. So he decided he was just going to go. That's why he made that decision. And unfortunately, it led to his demise. But again, I'm putting this on Diana, because had you not looked in the bag or had you not said anything to your father, he wouldn't have went and did that. And another thing, Lorenzo, you messed up because you told Drew, I don't know if it was the last episode or the one before, never act out of revenge. When Drew told you that he got involved in that whole thing because he wanted to get back at what's this the guy's name, GTG, whichever guy he was pissed about, he said he wanted to put the bullet in himself. And his father said, you almost messed this all up over revenge. You never act off of revenge. And that's exactly what Lorenzo did. And in doing that, you messed around and you killed Zeke. So we got Zeke is dead. We have Lauren is dead. I'm sure there's some others I can't even think about. But yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot going on. They set it up real nice for next season. You know, we see that Tariq is going to still have to be in the game because, you know, he never got the $2 million from Dante / Mecca. You know, he gave up his sister. So now he doesn't really have an incentive to stay out of the game. You know, he doesn't have to take care of her. And he doesn't have to stay clean in order to have custody of her. And I think it's just who he is. It's like in his DNA, he could not sit tight and just be clean if he wanted to, because he's a busybody and he thinks he's so smart. He always just has to do what he wants to do, regardless of the outcome. So we see the end that, you know, he's back at school again, walking away, blemish free. He's with Effie. They're in a relationship. Braden is not mad at him, even though he stole the picture that Braden told him not to take. Braden actually saved his ass by testifying and admitting that course correct and the drugs were his, which I'm still kind of wrap my mind around, like, why did he do that? Yeah, I don't know how Tariq just keeps walking away unscathed. This dude is like, he's not loyal to anybody. You know, the only person he's ever really been loyal to is Tasha. And, you know, the love he has for his sister, but that's, you know, that's just because it's his little sister. But all these people who've done things for him, who went out on a limb for him and supported him, you know, he's got no loyalty. You know, it's just a shame. So anyway, tell me what you thought. Let's talk about it in the comments. Did you watch the new show with Tommy? I watched the first episode. It looks like it has some good potential. Don't think I'm going to be reviewing it because, again, like I said, there's just so much going on. I'll probably wait until the season finale and just do a recap. But that's it. That's all I got. So please drop down the comments and let me know. Also, like and subscribe and share this video, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.